first issue that I found in the paragraph is whether the discrepancy in the documents presented by Capital Machinery Ltd justify the first bank's refusal to honor letter of credit. The rules in this issue is in UCP 600. I found Articles 14, which is document must be presented within the validity of the credit. And the second article is Article 16, which is strict compliance with the terms of the letter of credit is required. And then in the UCC Articles 5, which is Section 5108, document must conform exactly to the terms of the letter of credit. So the case law that can be related in this issue is the Voice Alliance Trading USA Corp v Bank of China. The court ruled that any discrepancy, no matter how minor, justify the bank's refusal to honor the letter of credit. And then the second case is Nisho Roy Europe PLC v Korea First Bank, which is the court reaffirmed the principle of strict compliance and the autonomy of the letter of credit. The application for the rules is Discrepancy 1. The certificate of conformity was issued by the different agency than the one named in the letter of credit. This is the breach of the strict compliance rules as document must match the terms exactly. So the Discrepancy 2 is the insurance certificate cover only 90% of the value of the goods instead of the full value. This is significant and justify the bank's refusal to honor the letter of credit. In Discrepancy 3, the representation was made outside the validity of the credit. So according to UCP 600, Articles 14 is the valid reason for the bank to refuse the payment. So the conclusions in this issue is the discrepancy in the documents presented by Capital Machinery Ltd justify First Bank's refusal to the honor letter of credit. The principles of strict compliance as outlined in UCP 600 and UCC Articles 5 and supported by case law allows the banks to refuse payments due to the discrepancy.
Hello everyone, my name is Fantasia binti Rosli. Today we will analyze whether the failure by Capital Machinery Ltd to carry out clearance on export goods constituted a breach of AWB terms using the IRAC method. So, the primary issue is whether the failure to carry out clearance on export goods from Capital Machinery Ltd, so it encompasses a branch of FOB terms. Under FOB terms, the seller bears the responsibility for ensuring the goods are delivered safely to the buyer at the port of shipment. This includes completing all necessary export formalities. According to the Sales of Goods Act 1979 Section 29(1), the delivery obligation depends on the contract terms between the parties. Section 32(1) further states that delivery for shipment is deemed as a prima facie delivered to the buyer. In international trade, adherence to the terms of the LC is critical as the LC provides financial security by ensuring payment upon compliance with the agreed condition. Non-compliance with these terms can result in disputes on non-payment. So, in this case, Jaya Construction argued that delay at the port occurred because Capital Machinery Ltd failed to clear the goods for export. This failure directly violates FOB terms which require the seller to complete all export formalities. Moreover, the discrepancies in the documentation presented to First Bank exacerbate the issue. These discrepancies include the certificate of conformity was issued by agency not certified in the LC. Second, the insurance certificate covers only 90% of the good value, not the full amount required. 3. The presentation of document was outside the validity period of the LC. These issues are critical as they breach the LC terms, which form the financial backbone of the transition. Since the LC conditions were not fulfilled, First Bank was justified in refusing payment. Consequently, Jaya Construction also had ground to reject the goods, as the failure to comply undermined their confidence in the transaction. To conclude, Capital Machinery Ltd's failure to clear the goods for export constituted a breach of the FOI terms, making them liable for the delays and consequent issues. Additionally, the dispenses in the LC documentation justified First Bank refusal to process payment and Jaya Construction rejection of the goods. This case highlights the importance of strict compliance with FOI terms obligation and the LC requirement in international trade to prevent dispute and financial losses. Thank you for your attention. This analysis underscores the critical role of adhering to contractual terms in safeguarding the interests of all parties involved in global trade.
So the third issue is whether Jaya Construction's refusal to accept the goods is legally justified under the CISG. Specifically, we will assess whether Jaya Construction examined the goods as required under CISG Article 38. And number 2, whether they provide timely notice of non-conformity under CISG Article 39. And third, whether the seller committed a fundamental breach under CISG Article 49 that could justify avoidance of the contract. So in CISG Article 38, it requires the buyer to examine the goods within a short period after receiving them to promptly identify any defects or non-conformities. In CISG Article 39, it obligates the buyer to notify the seller of any conformities within a reasonable time after discovering them. Failure to do so may forfeit the buyer's right to rely on such defects. In CISG Article 49, it allows the buyer to avoid the contract only if the seller commits a fundamental breach, one that substantially deprives the buyer of what they were entitled to expect under the contract. So for the application, number 1 is examination of goods under CISG Article 38. Jaya Construction was obligated to inspect the goods within a reasonable time after receiving them. If the examination did not occur promptly, the refusal to accept the goods may lack legal justification. The alleged delay in export clearance and improper shipment will need to be identified during this inspection. Without evidence that Jaya Construction fulfilled this duty, the refusal to accept the goods may be questionable. Application for number 2 is the notice of lack conformity under CISG Article 39. Once Jaya Construction identified or should have identified the issues, they were required to notify Capital Machinery Limited within a reasonable time. Failure to provide such notice weakens their position. If Jaya Construction did not notify Capital Machinery Ltd promptly about the alleged export clearance issues or delays, they may have forfeited their right to rely on this claim as grounds for refusal. Last application, avoidance of the contract on CISG Article 49. To justify contract avoidance, Jaya Construction must prove a fundamental breach by Capital Machinery Ltd. A fundamental breach is one that deprives the buyer of the primary benefits of the contract. In this case, Capital Machinery Ltd shipped the goods within the agreed time frame of November and fulfilled its obligation of export clearance. Delays or clearance issues, unless severe and proven to deprive Jaya Construction of the expected value, are unlikely to constitute a fundamental breach. So the case law is the Equitable Trust Company of New York versus Dawson Partners Ltd, 1927. This case is about a dispute over a letter of credit in an international trade deal. Dawson Partners, the buyers, arranged for Equitable Trust, a bank, to issue a letter of credit to pay a seller in Batavia for goods. The credit required a specific certificate of quality, issued by experts and signed by the local Chamber of Commerce. The seller provided a certificate, but it didn't meet the exact terms. Despite this, the bank paid the seller. When the bank asked Dawson Partners to reimburse them, the buyers refused, arguing the terms of the letter of credit weren't fulfilled. The court sided with the buyers. It ruled that letters of credit require strict compliance, which is documents must exactly match the terms. Since the bank paid non-compliant documents,
the buyers weren't liable. So this case established the importance of strict compliance in banking and international trade, ensuring certainty and trust in letters of credit. So the conclusion will be, if Jaya Construction failed to examine the goods promptly, did not notify the seller within a reasonable time, or cannot prove a fundamental breach, their refusal to accept the goods is not justified under the CISG. The fact that the seller shipped the goods on time and complete export clearance further undermines Jaya Construction's refusal. For Jaya Construction to succeed in the refusal, they must provide strong evidence of a fundamental breach and demonstrate compliance with Articles 38 and 39. That's all from me. Thank you.